Let's do some housekeeping first. Thank you all for coming tonight. I have lived here almost all of my life except for 10 years, and I know nothing about this facility and what they do, so I'm really looking forward to it. And we have refreshments, we have donuts and cider. Please feel free at any time to help yourselves, but we will have to clean up our own messes, like big responsible people that we are. And Roger, would you like to say something right now about the picture?
Hello.
Yeah, I brought in this was the 150th anniversary of Montague, and so it was a sesquicentennial, and Jerry Grady, he was here. Raise your hand, Jerry. Always thankful. Does wonderful posters for the group, and so he did the poster here, and so we thought what we would do is that the Sesquicentennial Committee will present that to the Montague City Hall, and it will hang in the Montague City Hall, and Paul Kleinfelder did a great job framing it and doing that for us. So, thank you.
Okay. We need a little bit of help even though our season tonight ends, because we always do the holiday walk in the Hokey Pokey, and it's November, this year is November 16 and November 17. Margot will not be in town and unable to work it, and so Tom and I will, and I'm looking around thinking, you look like you could help. You look like you could help. You guys can help. Oh, yes!
What does this involve?
Just sitting at a table, collecting money.
Selling
Yes, looking
t-shirts.
lovely.
You're
Collecting money
supposed to
for
frown at everybody and say, bah, humbug.
what are we collecting money? Yeah, what are we just selling?
Well,
You
we
want
have
your money.
Fairwinds books to sell. We've got posters to sell. We have products that we have accumulated over the years
T-shirts.
that we always have. T-shirts, sweatshirts, things that have the White Lake area logo and information on it.
Frederick Norman booklets. So,
Yeah,
you know,
Frederick
those,
Norman
if you haven't
booklets.
gotten one, it's a lot in there. What tells about those posters is interesting.
Yeah. So we need a little bit more help because I can't do it alone. I'm not going to do it alone. So if you get a phone call, if you have not volunteered by the end of tonight, I may call you because we know everybody's name and everybody's number. And at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our hosts for the evening, Sergeant Orazetti and Sergeant Potter, and they're going to talk with us about this facility. Help me welcome them, please.
All right, well, I'd like to start off by thanking you all for coming and giving us the opportunity to teach you guys about the unit and the heritage here at the Montague National Guard Armory. My name is Sergeant First Class Adam Orzetti, and to give you guys a little brief history over myself, I am the 4th generation of my family to have served in the military. My great-grandfather served in the Michigan National Guard. My grandfather was the commanding officer of the 1st unit that I ever served in. One of my uncles was another commanding officer of the 1st unit that I ever served in. Multiple family members have also served in that unit up in Sault Ste. Marie, and my father also served in the military. So I've got a huge family heritage in the Michigan Army National Guard. So my great-grandfather stormed the beaches of Normandy. My grandfather actually served in the Korean War. My uncle served in the first Gulf War, and then unfortunately myself, I've served in both Iraq and Afghanistan in the current. And then let Sergeant Potter here talk about himself because he loves talking about himself.
That's not always true. He's going to make me blush a little bit. My name's Sergeant James Potter. I'm actually a local boy. I was born and raised here in Muskegon, over in Muskegon Heights, Michigan. My mother's family's from here in Montague, the Brightwell family. My father's family's from over in Twin Lake, the Potter family. I don't know if you guys seen Paul Potter's painting over here. That's my Uncle Paul. I am not a multiple generation military, but both my grandfathers did serve in the military, and then it kind of skipped a generation with my father. And then I decided to join the military. My little brother's been in the military. I've been serving for 15 years here in the Michigan Army National Guard. I think this is my 3rd unit that I've been in. I originally started as a military police officer. I know, big guy like me, you can imagine me chasing down bad guys, right? Then later on I became a horizontal construction engineer, then later a recruiter, and now I'm back to being a horizontal construction engineer. I've deployed to Iraq twice. Oof, I've had a lot of experiences in the military. I've been doing this full time for about 10 years now, so very great experience for me. I've spent, I think, 3 years in recruiting, trying to encourage the local populace and the younger generation to join and pick up where I'm going to leave off eventually. Sorry, was that?
Alright, so right here, if anybody hasn't got it in, we did up, actually last year we had to do this up because we had to do up a little packet for an award that our company did. So we had to run through all of the heritage that this unit has. So this little pamphlet will go through in great detail about the history and the lineage of our unit. I'm not going to go into that great detail because I'm sure you... Yes,
Do you want to pass around so people who missed one?
oh,
can have
absolutely,
one?
yes. That's why
Thank
I
you.
grabbed the stack here. So, I'm not going to go into that much detail, just because I'm sure you guys are all able to read it ourselves. So we're just going to really hit the main points where we can go over, or the interesting points anyways. Except I'm going to go back. Hit a button too much. Alright, so we're going to go over a brief history of the 1437, what the role of the horizontal engineer unit is today, basically what the 1436 is comprised of, like all the equipment, basically what the personnel is, what the capabilities are of our unit, and then give you a brief description of some of the equipment, and then give you some pictures of what we've actually done. So.
The National Guard was originally established as a militia on December 13th of 1636. We're the oldest branch of military in the United States. Besides the National Guard, the Navy is besides the Navy, the National Guard is the only other branch that's constitutionally protected. So a well-organized militia and the United States Navy are the only two branches that aren't voted on every 2 years by Congress. Originally we were known as the Minutemen because they were the civilian soldiers back during what's the war called again that I'm thinking of?
Revolutionary.
The Revolutionary War. I'm sorry, I spaced out there for a second. The citizen soldiers that originally decided to fight for the United States during the Revolutionary War were known as the Minutemen because they were supposed to react within a moment's time to any oncoming conflict. Since December 13th of 1636, we established different branches of the National Guard and started forming in their own states. The National Guard has two major missions, or two primary missions. So our first primary mission is to respond to natural disasters and civil disturbances. So in forms of natural disasters, we've had natural disasters all over the United States. Recently we had a natural disaster, not quite natural but more man-made, that the Michigan Army National Guard responded to, the Flint water crisis. Is everybody here familiar with the Flint water crisis? Did you guys know that we deployed 300 soldiers to Flint for, I believe it was 90 days to hand out water bottles, water filtration systems? We were going house to house doing that.
Oh, this unit.
Not just this unit, but units all across the state of Michigan. Yep. So there's people that were going around. You know, they didn't have water. They didn't have safe drinking water. They didn't have clean drinking water. Now me, I told a lot of people this when I was in recruiting, just to kind of get an emotional reaction out of them. I couldn't imagine, I have 3 kids. My youngest daughter is 4 years old. I couldn't imagine waking up one day and telling my daughter, I'm sorry, I know you're thirsty, but you can't have anything to drink. Water is one of the most basic natural resources we have. Now, passing out water bottles and water filtration system doesn't seem like a lot until you have to look a 4-year-old little girl in the face and say, I'm sorry, I can't give you this water. And then as far as natural disasters, or civil disturbances, I'm sorry. Luckily we haven't had any civil disturbances here in Michigan since I believe the Detroit riots. But there was the riots down in Ferguson and all that kind of stuff. The Michigan Army National Guard wasn't activated for that, but National Guard units from down there were activated. Now our secondary mission is to respond to national emergencies and to support active duty forces overseas in times of conflict. As far as national emergencies, I think it was a couple years ago, there was the hurricane. Come on in, man.
I know this.
There was the hurricanes down in, it was Louisiana. There was multiple National Guard units that were activated down in Louisiana. Now we just talked about how traumatizing it would be to look a 4-year-old little girl in the face and say, I'm sorry, but the water, you can't have it because it's poisonous right now. Imagine being stuck on a rooftop, nothing to drink, nothing to eat, cold, wet, alone. I would feel hopeless. I would feel helpless. I couldn't imagine being in that situation with my own children. And the National Guard was activated, I think, within 2 days to start pulling people off the rooftops.
Yeah, and I was actually at that time during that hurricane. I was in the 1437th up in Sault Ste. Marie, and they have a lot of shallow boats that can operate in shallow waters. So we were activated, and we within 24 hours, or actually 48 hours, we were actually all the way down there and driving our boats down. I never actually thought I'd see the day where I was driving a boat down a city street, grabbing people off the rooftops. But as horrible as a situation that was, it was actually really rewarding because you're driving down there, grabbing everybody off their rooftops, and then bringing them to a safe place.
Now, envisioning that, you know, somebody being stuck on the rooftop with their children, their families, no clean water, no clean food, you know, wet, cold, and the National Guard responding. I don't see the National Guard as your typical branch of the military. You know what I mean? Typical branches of the military, their main structure is to fight and win America's wars. And the National Guard goes a step above and beyond that. Our goal is to protect the home front, and our goal is to help U.S. citizens to make this place a better country. And then on top of that, we have that additional mission with the active duty forces to fight and win America's wars, and we've both been activated. I don't know if you guys know this, but I believe it's 47% of the troops that served in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars were in the National Guard. So we made up almost half of all soldiers deployed during those war times. So the National Guard carries that heavy home front mission, plus the heavy overseas mission when it comes to serving overseas. Besides that, we offer more college education benefits than any other branch of the military. We have both federal funding and state funding. And then we're one of the only branches that can actually guarantee whatever job the soldier or the person that's deciding to join the military, we can offer, we're the only branch that can guarantee what MOS they're going to be into, or their military occupational specialty. And I think that's what makes the National Guard stand out above and beyond the rest of the branches.
All right. So, what you guys are here for. So the 1436 unit's lineage actually dates back all the way to 1855. They were first designed or created with the militias or the independent militias in Grand Rapids, the Grand Rapids Light Guard, or they called them the Grand Rapids Light Guard. Then they developed them into the Michigan State Troops, which were redesignated the Michigan Army National Guard on December 31st, 1894. This unit here was federally recognized on August 23rd, 1920 as Company G in the Muskegon. Originally, this company was an infantry unit where they would be activated for civil disturbances or to be go to World War II, the Korean conflict. Then we were reorganized again on November 28th, 1921 for company, again we were still Company G, but we were reorganized into the 126th Infantry Battalion. Again we were reorganized on March 15th, 1959 as Company C in the 126 Infantry, again still in Muskegon. And then on November 15th in 1965 we were redesignated the 1436th Engineer Company, and then officially given our title on April 15th, 1969. On that point there, we were redesignated from Infantry Company to a Horizontal Engineer Company. Now, I've been an engineer my whole life. I've never done any other job in the military, or I've always been in some sort of job in an engineer unit, so I hold engineering pretty close and dear to my heart, because we get to build stuff, blow stuff up. It's a pretty good job. So, all right. The role of a horizontal construction engineer company, in the most layman terms, is we have to push dirt. That's the most layman terms. But we provide mission command and coordination to repair, do maintenance, construct, basically any air-to-ground line of communication. So we have the capabilities to come up on a forest, and then when we leave that forest, there's either a road going through there or there is an airfield there. So we have the capabilities to build roads, build airfields, and basically anything just to move dirt. And then we also in place culverts, hauling, forest protection, line, blah 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 blah. So the 1436 is the second largest unit in the state of Michigan. The only unit that beats us out is the 1437th. They're a multi-role bridge company up in Sault Ste. Marie. Our unit is actually more diverse than the 1437th because the 1437th, they've got a lot of stuff, but it's all the same stuff. We have the most diverse unit. Right now, the complex that you are in was built in 1985, right? Yes, 1985. Yeah, 1985 research. So it was built in 1985 just to hold our all of our equipment, and unfortunately, over time, because the military has come up with bigger, better stuff to move dirt, we actually don't have the room to store all of our stuff here. So all of these buildings and cold storage building equipment, we can only store a third of the equipment that our unit has. The rest of it is stored up at Camp Grayling in Grayling, Michigan, or at Fort Custer down in Battle Creek. So basically, we have these LETs, which as you guys leave here, you can go out and kind of see some of the equipment. We laid it out here so you don't have to go tracing around in the dark and trip over stuff. We brought out some of them. So we have a LET, which is basically a transport truck or a fifth wheel with a 40-ton lowboy trailer on it. We have 24 of those. They're incredibly large, and they haul around all of our heavy construction equipment, which are our Hi-X, which is just an excavator. We're supposed to have 4 excavators. We have 2 25-ton cranes, whole bunch of 10K forklifts, whole bunch of skid steers to help us move dirt. The gigantic, enormous scrapers, which they're so big they actually can't fit in that room. They're so big that they can actually haul 16 cubic yards of dirt at a time. And as they're driving along the ground, they're picking up all the dirt. A bulldozer has to come up and actually grab it, because as it's going, it actually digs itself into the ground, and the bulldozer will come and keep it along going. We also have the 5-yard loaders, 17 bulldozers or D7 bulldozers. We also have vibratory rollers, compactors, backhoes, Humvees, a whack load of either 10-ton dump trucks or 20-ton dump trucks, troop carriers, which are 5-ton medium tactical vehicles, Humvees, and I'll go into a whole bunch of stuff. So as you can see, we're very diverse with all of our equipment. We're also what's called a completely self-sustaining unit. So the only thing that we have to outsource right now is feeding our soldiers, because the Army redesignated a whole bunch of stuff several years ago, and they took all of our cooks away from the unit level and put it up to battalion level. So that is right now is the only thing that we have to outsource. Everything else is completely internal, so we can fix ourselves, fuel ourselves, transport ourselves, and so the only thing that we can't do by ourselves is actually feed our soldiers. Right now, this unit here, the core composition is basically a headquarters platoon, which is comprised of 2 officers, a senior NCO or a non-commissioned officer, and 9 enlisted soldiers. Then we have 3 platoons of construction platoons, which are comprised of 1 officer each, 1 senior enlisted, and then I can't divide that really quick in my head. So, but the 3 platoons are 3 officers, 3 senior non-commissioned officers, and then 114 enlisted soldiers. Then we have the maintenance platoon, which has a senior enlisted soldier, and then 26 enlisted soldiers, totaling 159 soldiers for this unit to operate all of our equipment. Each construction platoon is comprised of a headquarters piece, a track section, a wheeled section, and then a haul section. And the track section is basically all your bulldozer operators, basically anything with a track to move dirt. Your wheeled section are basically like your backhoes because they have wheels. And then your haul section are your dump trucks and whatnot. And then I'll go more into maintenance on the other side. So the capabilities, the track, we provide the capabilities to create embankments, haul, dump, dirt, spread dirt, and the ability to lift heavy construction materials basically anywhere on Earth. The wheeled stuff provides the capability to load, haul, dump, spread, all the same stuff, just with wheeled stuff. And then your maintenance team, it has the ability to basically fix anything on site. One of the great things is the Army came out with a new thing. It's Fresh, which is a forward repair system, which we brought it outside for you. It is $1 million workshop that goes onto the back of a truck. It has the Army finally. They used to give us really cheap tools that would break all the time. They finally actually talked to our soldiers and said, hey, what do you guys want? We said we want good tools, so they actually bought Snap-on tools. So, and now we don't have an issue with breaking our tools. But that piece of equipment is so good. It has a 10K generator on it, a crane on it, so we can, I'm pretty sure I got pictures on here. So, alright, so going into, this stuff is so big, a lot of it I can't really show you, so we brought out pictures for you. So there is the Engineer Mission Module, or Water Distributor for short. This is on top of a PLS truck, or basically a 10x10 truck attached onto a trailer, and it has two 3,000 gallon water tanks. Now the National Guard has two roles for this. One is basically to keep the dust down as we're, like, say, building a road or whatnot, and then two is to fight forest fires. A lot of times, especially out in California, the National Guard would be activated a lot to fight forest fires. So some of their engineer units would use this one a great deal. We've used it a lot here up at Camp Grayling because like as we're doing weapons qualifications, a lot of our machine guns have the tracer rounds, like the little red dot as it's shooting out the weapon. That is a piece of burning phosphorus as it's running through the air. So as it hits the ground, it usually lights the ground on fire and starts a fire on our ranges. So we usually have to go out there and put our fires out after we make them.
I'm not started.
Yeah. Yeah, it's whenever we do it, we try to steer away from doing it in the summertime or your high burning seasons. So whenever, like this coming up weekend or in 2 days, where this unit's going to be going up to Camp Grayling to do all of our crew served weapons qualifications. So,
AKA set fires.
yeah.
He pushes through and you set fires.
Alright, so this is the LET with lowboy. It has the capabilities of pretty much moving 45,000 pounds anywhere we want. We particularly use this to move our dozers, or excavators, or loaders, anything that basically can't drive down the road really fast. This has the capabilities of moving anything that up to 45,000 pounds, basically anywhere around the planet. If you get one of those things stuck, it's stuck. It's not coming out. So it's an 8x8 truck. The tires on it, as you guys, when you walk out there, you'll see them. They're about up to here. It's got a 500 horsepower engine on it that moves along. It's an incredibly good piece of tool. It's just really bad on gas because it only gets about 2 miles a gallon. These are our 10 and 20 ton dump trucks. The 20-ton dump truck is an amazing piece of equipment. It's actually more of a kind of a civilian dump truck than a military dump truck. It's just an international civilian truck painted green, but it can really haul dirt compared to our 10-ton dump trucks. The 20-ton will haul 12 yards of dirt and dump it out, and then the 10-ton will only haul 5 yards of dirt. But they are still really good piece of gear. The 20-ton dump truck is actually relatively good on fuel. It burns at about 7 miles a gallon. And then your MTV, ton, it burns it with 5 miles a gallon. So moving on to the cargo trucks, we actually have two different types. We've got the MTV and then the long wheelbase one. We use those to either transport troops or transport cargo. The long wheelbase one can go anywhere from 5 tons of cargo or up to 21 troops. So we can move pretty much anything. It's actually really good because it can run through water about this deep. So it's really good for reacting to floods and going around. Except when you drive down a city street. I don't know if any of you guys seen the news a few years ago where they were driving down the road and you could only see about that much at the top of that truck, and then it finally went underground and stuffed up some water, and somebody got into a whole lot of trouble because it went underwater. Our heavy engineer equipment, or the horizontal engineer equipment, we have the ability just to push dirt. That's our sole job in life, is pushing dirt, and the easiest way to explain what we do. We have vibratory rollers, dozers, excavators, belly pan scrapers, loaders, backhoes, cranes, skid steers, the fork trucks, and then road graders to grade down the roads. Tons of it. I used to be the supply sergeant here, and trying to manage a property book that is over $100 million in value with all this different types of equipment is kind of a nightmare, because you're trying to figure out where everything is, especially when it's spread out between three different locations. One of the unique things about an engineer unit is we have a lot of engineer toolkits. We actually just received this toolkit here, which is called the HEPO. It's a hydraulic, pneumatic, and hydraulic, pneumatic, and gas-operated toolkit. So every single tool in the system has, for a perfect example, is the chainsaws. It has a gas-operated chainsaw, a hydraulically operated chainsaw, and then an air-operated chainsaw. And it has $200,000 worth of tools. I call it the natural disaster kit because it's 12 boxes of everything you would need for a natural disaster or to react to a natural disaster. It has airbags in it to lift stuff up, chainsaws, water pumps, safety gear, grinders, all sorts of different stuff that we would use. And we also have all the different engineer kits, which are like shovel kits and Pioneer toolboxes, carpenter's kits to help build up, plumbers kits, pipe fitters kits, and then your mechanic toolboxes, and then air conditioning toolboxes, and an absolute ton of stuff. Then we have our maintenance and self-recovery platoon, which we are capable of hauling around over 5,000 gallons of fuel to fuel ourselves, which you would think that it's a lot, but it actually isn't, because we would use that just going up to Grayling for our entire company. One truck has a 100-gallon tank of diesel, and it uses 90 gallons of fuel to get up to Camp Grayling. So we go through a lot of fuel. When we went to Camp Grayling last year for our annual training, just for 2 weeks, we went through 27,000 gallons of fuel. And we only actually operated for about 9 days. True. Our maintenance guys here are incredibly well versed. You have several different types of mechanics versus either weapons mechanics, wheeled mechanics, construction equipment mechanics, or your track mechanics. They have the multiple different types of vehicles and equipment to either go out to a site and fix it on the spot, or they have the recovery assets to recover that piece of equipment, bring it back to a shop, and then fix it there at the shop. Going back in history a little bit for these guys, we recently just got off of a C2CRE mission, which was reacting to a natural disaster mission. These are some of the training scenarios that we went through, where we had to either use the HEPO kit to extract people from cars, use the Hayaks to get rid of debris, clear some of the debris with some of our forklifts or whatnot. remove a whole bunch of dirt or go through and clear the road. So some of the natural disasters that we would react to is if we had to actually clear a road full of debris. So they threw a whole bunch of cars at us and they said, hey, you guys need to go from point A to point B. And how long do you think that would take us to do? Any guesses?
Half a day.
Half a day? Not bad. Half hour? That's a lot closer.
I'd say 2 hours, just because it's like.
5 minutes.
I should It took us 2 hours to clear all the debris, which was a half mile long. It took us 2 hours to actually clear a path through it. So and that was doing it safely. Unsafely, you'd probably be able to do it in about 20 minutes because the dozer would just run right through.
Yeah, it looks very neat. You lined the cars up all nice and neatly along the side.
Yeah, and that's why it took us so long.
But how many, members were doing this? How many?
That was a platoon was assigned to do that, but actually only about 15 people did it.
So where's this done? Is this done locally or at some military post or what?
This one here was
Alpena.
Alpena.
Okay.
There's the air base up at in Alpena that was done. And then that is some of the fire suppression where we had to put out our own fires because this is one of the range this year that we had done. So.